And if you get to a point where you need a break, you just say you need a break, or you need the toilet, say you need the toilet. It's like being back at school, and that's it.
Cane.
So, yeah. We went to school at slightly different times, mate. I missed the cane. Jobsworth, Season 3, Episode 11, Gloves Off. Welcome to episode 11 of Jobsworth Season 3. This week's guest is Essex-based boxing and conditioning coach Vic O'Dame. Vic is something of an enigma. He's been a mainstay at my local gym every day for as long as I've trained there, always smiling, remembers everyone's name and makes the effort to say hello to them, and never far from his vast collection of torture devices or boxing pads, as he calls them. But as for Vic's story, well, I knew absolutely nothing about it, so obviously I had to change that. In this episode, we discuss what it was like growing up in South London, learn why he first stepped into a boxing gym at the age of 14, and explore the lessons that boxing has taught him over the years. We also talk about the impact exercise can have on your mental health, the importance of discipline when it comes to achieving your goals, fitness related or otherwise, and Vic's stance on old school values and why he's passing them down to his kids. Parenting comes up, as does the importance of accepting help and support from the people around you and making big decisions, and I asked Vic all about his other passion, DJing, and I couldn't let him leave without getting his take on the rise of celebrity boxing bouts. Now, if you know of Vic, you're about to get to know him a lot better, and if you don't, well, prepare to be inspired by the story of a true gent whose work ethic, drive and sheer force of will has got him to where he is today. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to the local legend, that is Vic O'Dame. So, when you were younger, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I thought I was going to be in the army.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought I was going to do the army thing, but I didn't have at the time I didn't have the education for it, so I sort of like got into work basically.
Yeah. What was the inspiration? Why was the army a sort of thing that you had in your?
I always liked to be active. I always wanted to be active, and I just thought that was a good way to go. It was a good career, and all my friends were doing it, so I just thought I'd go that way.
Yeah. How old were you? Do you remember the earliest memory you had?
Yeah, when I was about 12, 13, everyone was getting involved in what we was doing, and then our brothers and our sisters, the older ones, were doing stuff. So you see what they do and you just sort of want to copy, don't you, when you're young?
Right, okay, yeah. So you had that kind of inspiration, or you had a couple of people around you that had seen go down
and
that route?
we all lived on an estate. Man, where I come from, it's like, it was like called Pollard's Hill.
Okay.
And a lot of the kids, they sort of like, everyone sort of moved out eventually. It was like a council estate.
Yeah.
And then you just done the best you could for yourself, do you know what I mean?
So whereabouts did you grow up then, Vic?
I sort of grew up in South London, basically, sort of like towards the edges, so it was between Streatham, Tooting, all around that area. I went to school in Mitcham, sort of between Mitcham and Tooting. It's called Eastfield then, but I think it's called something else now, a few years back now. It's totally different round that way now. When you go back there, my mum still lives round there.
Oh, does she?
Yeah, she's still over that way, but like it's a totally different area now.
So when was this? What? Because I'm always interested in how old you are, Vic. I've never quite worked out.
I'm 59 now.
You're 59.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to talk to anyone listening to this now. That will be news to a lot of people in the gym that we'll go on to discuss in a second.
Yeah.
But you look bloody amazing, mate, for 59. Not just that.
You see me in the morning.
Once the makeup's on, you look all good. But this, like Vic sitting opposite me now, is just you are a powerhouse, mate. Like the work you do in the gym is just incredible. So I was hoping we'd get to the bottom of how old you were. I don't think you were hiding it before, but yeah. So we're talking, what sort of time are we talking then? Like the 70s?
Yeah, late 70s.
Growing up and
yeah, so yeah, 70s. My parents are from Ghana originally.
Yeah.
So that's West Africa.
And your surname is Ghanaian, isn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah, so my name's O'Dame, my surname,
Yeah.
My dad's passed away a couple of years back now, but he comes from one side of the world and my mum comes from another side of the world over that way.
Right, okay.
So it's quite interesting. It's two different mixes again.
So were they kind of first generation, or were coming to the UK?
To the country, yeah.
Okay.
Big silver aluminium box, and she's still got it in the loft.
Really? Wow.
It's proper heavy as well when you see it. It's unreal.
So were you born here, Vic?
Yeah, I was born here.
Okay.
Yeah, I was born in Croydon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And what was that like, kind of growing up at that time in London and having that experience?
It was good. It was good. I mean, there was a few difficulties as you get older. As you get older, you start realising things are a little bit different, but then you sort of just have to get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So you had these kind of aspirations to be in the army.
Yeah.
Why didn't that come off? Why didn't you explore
Well, I did have the education at the time.
You did so.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I sort of like built myself up. And lucky enough, I had good people around me, which had helped me. So it was quite good.
Yeah. So obviously we're talking to you now, because when you put in your form, you've been doing it for 40 years. I was like, how old were you when you started? But it kind of makes sense now you're 59.
I started young.
Yeah.
I had a little spell when I was away from all of the boxing thing and the martial arts thing. I had a little spell away from it, and then I come back into it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk to me then. So you've got these aspirations of going into the army, and the first memory you've got of that is around 12 years old.
Yeah.
Realise maybe the education isn't there to back up that route and that path into it.
Yeah.
So when did I know you from boxing?
So about 14, I had a few friends who were boxing at the time, and there was an old fella called Bill. He was actually an army man himself.
Okay.
And we used to go down to this place in Figs Marsh in sort of between Tooting and Mitcham, and he used to have a little gym there. And that's where I probably got my press-ups from, because he used to do a lot of press-ups.
Oh, really?
Back in the day. But he was a sort of barrel-bellied fella.
Yeah.
And but he was super strong, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's one of the old school. They'd have a cigarette and all that, and they'd be training and all this nonsense.
Yeah.
Look at you mad now.
Yeah.
But back then,
you wouldn't get allowed in.
I mean, even then when I was
stay
boxing as a kid, because I was a schoolboy in the schoolboys and stuff, and they'd smoke. Nowadays there'd be an uproar.
Yeah. Cool, sure.
And he took us on, and he took a few of our other friends, all from Collierswood round that way. And we all used to go and train with him, and we stayed with him for a few years. And then we left, and then I left him, and I went to a club called Rose Hill, and that's further up the road, going outwards again. And I stayed with them for about 6 years.
Right.
And there was a bloke called Don Taffarelli and a few others there, and his brother, Victor. And they took me on for a little while. I stayed with them for a few years. I had about 30 fights with them lot. And then I went to Kingston and I had 12 fights with them lot. And that was at Freddie Bar. And that was good. I'd done the nationals over there. And then I got to the semis in the Londons, which was it was quite tough. There's a lot of guys who went on. The guy who beat me, he went on to the final. He actually got to the final. So
wow,
I was pleased with that.
Yeah. If you're going to get beat by anyone, at least they're going to go on. Yeah.
So it was good. And we was both novices at the time. We was both good novices at the time. And he was a good novice too. So he done really well.
How old were you from that point? So the first time you stepped foot in a boxing gym?
Yeah, I was 14 when I first started.
Okay.
And I was probably about sort of early 20s when I sort of like got to that stage. Yeah.
So what and why boxing?
When I was a kid, I was quite small.
Okay.
And I just felt that I had to look after myself.
Yeah.
And if you've got people out there your size, you have to deal with them.
Yeah.
It's hard, do you know what I mean? So you just do your best.
Right, okay.
So you just feel confident, and if anything, you wouldn't get into trouble because you could look after yourself.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it sort of taught me discipline. You need that. When you're young, you're sort of pretty wild, and then you just do what you're up to, but you learn to conform and get on with what you need to as you get older.
So that was the driving force behind stepping into the gym in the first place.
Yeah, you look after yourself.
Bit of a smaller stamp, and you wanted not to be picked on.
You could look after yourself, definitely.
Did you have siblings, Vic?
Yeah, I was the oldest though.
Okay,
I was the oldest. Yeah.
So how many brothers or sisters?
I'm the oldest.
setup?
I've got 2 sisters, 1 brother. Yeah, and my brother's about 10 years younger than me. 2 sisters. My sister's a year younger.
Yeah.
And the other one, Debbie, she's like the gap between 6 years and my sister. Yeah. But back in them days, you had like a lot of things going on, John. There was like, people didn't have money as well, and there used to be a thing called SPG, police, back in them days, and they weren't really nice people.
Right,
you had to deal with that, and you didn't have nowhere to go, so you just had no choice to look after yourself the best you could,
So I guess the community or the people, the tribe that you built at that time, 14, going into those gyms, making those friends and again, you've got the kind of role models around you too, that both showing you from a boxing perspective, but I'd assume you'd have role models that were giving you the lessons in discipline too. Because
you have to.
Once you learn to be able to box, well, that's it. Because it's discipline in being regimented enough and on it enough to turn up to the sessions, but also discipline to use what you then learn in a responsible way, as opposed to, I'm the tough guy, I'm going to beat the shit out of people.
But the tough guys, normally, a lot of them can't box.
Right.
You know, and then you get guys who can't box, but they can fight.
Right.
It's really weird, boxing. I've seen it so many times, really good boxers, and then you put them in the other situation and they can't fight.
Right.
And then you get really good fighters on outside the ring and they can't box.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of learn. You know what I mean? It's a skill, it's a craft.
Yeah, of course it is. But you can take a good fighter and turn them into a good boxer and vice versa.
You can well, the way I look at it how you are. You look at someone and see what they do, and then you sort of adapt them.
Right.
There's nobody trying to make a fighter into a boxer. You've got to make him a box fighter.
Right.
They teach him the skills so that he can box with the fight.
Yeah.
And then, getting out of trouble. That's the way I look at it.
Because I think you said on your pre-interview questionnaire about sort of new styles and old styles of boxing. And without getting too technical about it, because there's going to be some people that are into their boxing listening to this, and others that will be interested in you but don't care so much about the boxing. But what does that mean to me, as someone that's ignorant to it? What are new and old styles of boxing?
Well, you got more days. The newer styles are more switch hitter fighters, where they can change styles. So if they're an orthodox fighter, they switch to southpaw, or vice versa. Yeah, and the movements are slightly better. I mean, Muhammad Ali really broke it down, and then he started doing different things, and then it sort of upgraded. Where if you look at the old school fighters, they're very flat-footed. Right. They don't move too much. They hold their ground and work. And then when you look at them, you can see why they've been doing them rounds. Yeah. The new fighters, a lot of them, you don't see them. They look baby-faced. Yeah. You know what I mean? So you can see the
cauliflower ears, crushed cheekbones.
They hit a move. And I mean, there's so many ways of skinning a cat, what I'm saying, I don't know if that's right, but...
No, that's the analogy, I get it, yeah.
But you can, if someone's strong, then you'd use your speed. Yeah. You know what I mean? If someone's not so strong, then you put pressure on them. You know what I mean? And, whatever they do, you do the opposite. Yeah. And so
you're identifying someone's strength and then leaning into that, as opposed to, here's a model that we're trying to aim for, and whoever's coming through the mix, you've got to lean into their strengths.
You won't trying to do the same things all the time, but there's like bases that you have to have the base. I mean, my base is that you control the middle of the ring and you work from there. And if you're in the middle of the ring, it's like pantomime. When someone's in the middle, those look like in charge, whether they are or not. Okay. Yeah. So if they're in the middle, it looks like you're in charge. Yeah. So when someone comes out, they come out to you, they meet you. Yeah. They ain't got nowhere to go. Yeah. You know what I mean? But if you're on the ropes, it just looks like you're in trouble all the time. Yeah, understood. So you've got to treat the ropes they're like razor blades. Yeah. You don't want to be there.
Yeah. Understood. Yeah. So 14 going into this boxing gym, you start going through sort of 7-8 years into your early 20s, and then you are fighting at a decent level. Yeah, good level, bit of level. What do you think it takes to stick with it? Because 15, 15, right? Yeah. Teenage years, there's loads of stuff that can take you out of that route that you're going on, so but I just think
it's different for young ones now because of the social media thing. You didn't have that so much when I was young. You didn't have people with phones. Yeah, you sort of you knew your tribe. You went to where you wanted to be. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Nowadays, everyone's like, you got your phone. You can within seconds, about 20 things or 30 things. Depends how quick you are with it. So now it's a totally different game.
So is it a question of focus, do you think? How much our focus is now diluted and moved into different
areas? You have to have a little bit of natural ability, but I just feel like, in boxing, I think every trainer looks for that person, and I think in your lifetime you probably might get 2 or 3 in your lifetime as a trainer who got that thing what you're looking for. Yeah. What I've noticed so far, I'm not done yet, but that's what I've
noticed. You've been doing it long enough to know. Yeah, that's it. I think you've had like a lifetime's career.
The people I train, I deal with are people who have never boxed before. Most of them have never boxed. And they've come from, they all want to box. Some have got it and others haven't. And you just make the best of what they've got and see where they go with it.
How do you nurture that? in people. So if you see someone come into the ring, I'm not angling at you talking about me now, Vic, but if you see someone come into the ring,
let's do this.
if you see someone come to the ring that has got something that you think, actually, you've got a talent here, I can nurture this, and then, you know, at whatever stage of life and whatever ability they've got, that's a responsibility, isn't it? Or do you take that as a responsibility?
Yeah, you have to.
You could be,
you can get hurt.
Really,
you can get hurt. I mean, if you're doing it properly, I mean, like I say to people, even if they're good fighters, they've been some other gym or whatever they've done and they want a bit of skill level with me, what they want, I say, if you're going to train me, we're going to go out to show. You have to be with me for 1 year.
Right.
I'll tell you, you can ask any of the boxers who've been with me, you've got to be a year before we even go there.
Right.
All this stuff about people going into gyms and they 12 weeks, they go and have a fight.
Right.
For me, that is just not right.
That's irresponsible.
It's really irresponsible, and all they're after is your money. You know what I mean? But for me, if you want to train properly, any good trainer will tell you you've got to spend a year with me before we're going to get anywhere. And that's the game. You have to put time in with the person you're training. Yeah. You know?
And you've got that responsibility. You've also got the responsibility. Let's say someone gets in with you and says, I want to fight. I want to bout. Yeah. And you are there thinking you are going to get absolute, I guess you know, you've got variables you can control to a degree who they're going up against or whatever, but
but
that's
even
a responsibility.
In the world I'm at the moment, it's difficult because people don't tell the truth.
Right.
So even if a trainer tells you, oh, he's done this and done that, he might have done something else. He comes from somewhere else. You don't know where he's come from.
Yeah.
So you have to sort of weigh it up. But like when I say to people, you're going to get ready for a fight, but be prepared to fight anybody.
Yeah.
So your mentality is you're ready to fight anybody.
Yeah.
So if you want to be the best of the best, make sure you do the best you can. Yeah. And that's it.
And they're lessons that you must have picked up. It's your own work ethic, but you've picked them up in the gyms that you've both trained at and then you are training at
that's right,
over the years. What did your mum and dad think when you started getting into boxing gyms?
My mum was a bit worried, and my dad he wasn't that interested really.
Right.
But as I got older, then he used to say to me, do you like it? And I looked at him and I said, yeah, I do really like it. It keeps me right. He goes, yeah, I can see that now. But back in the day, he was more like about education, this sort of thing, where I was more like being out there doing what I've got to do, keeping fit and all the rest of it, being a young man. What
was your experience like at school? Because you said obviously the army didn't become a path you could go down due to education. Did you enjoy school? Was it a challenging time for you? Or?
I think it was challenging. I didn't really appreciate school as much, or I felt they didn't appreciate me because obviously I'm the right one.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But anyway, as I got older, I sort of found my way. I just I was lucky to have really good people around me. Yeah. I meet people all the time and they've always got good advice. And, you know, the advice you don't like, you don't have to take it on board. But when someone's telling me saying, it sounds right, I'll take it on board. You know, so it is.
Yeah. And if it wasn't for boxing at 14, what other routes were available to you, do you think? Because you've turned something that you went into a gym and loved doing.
I don't know if it was a positive route, because a lot of people my age, a lot of the young ones, they're not around anymore. A lot of them are dead now.
Really?
So it's a funny one, do you know what I mean? You don't know, do you know what I mean? My sisters and all that, they've all done all right for themselves, so I just don't know really. But I really liked boxing when I was a young man, and I like to be out and about.
Yeah, and I guess it got you socialising, got you in the community, got you doing something that was good for you physiologically and mentally.
It was definitely good for me. I'd recommend it to any youngster. You know, people think that it's about a thuggery thing. It's not about a thuggery thing at all. It's all about learning skills and adapting yourself. And then adapting skills you learn, you can take them to jobs and whatever you've got to do, you know, and it helps you. Yeah. You know, you meet good people and you understand people, because you meet so many characters in boxing. And it's from one level to the other level. And when you understand the different levels, you know, you learn a lot and do things. Yeah. It's nice.
There's a lot of transferable stuff, isn't there, that you can take into any walk of life. Yeah. I think for me, and what's been lovely about it, I was introduced to like martial arts and boxing at a younger age through my stepdad. And I think he would have loved for me to carry on down certain routes with kickboxing and then boxing. That I did a little bit of training when I was in my 20s and got punched in the head, felt my brain shake, and I was like, no way am I getting in and doing that
that's
again.
That's what happened to me as it goes, because one time I had a little break from boxing, and it was about 8 years, and I went to my friend's gym, and he had a gym in Roundshaw, and it was called Roundshaw Boys. And she said, come and train with me and get back on it. I put about a lot of weight on it. I put about 10 kilos overweight.
Right.
And I was about 36 waist.
Okay,
I'm 32 now, but at that time it was big.
Yeah, it's a big difference.
I did work on the builds. I was driving a forklift at the time.
Right.
And I went back to the gym with him, and I thought I still had it, right? So I went in, there's these young guys, all 17, 15s. I'll go and have a little spar. And honestly, I got such a hiding, and I was like, I ain't doing that again. I've got to sort this out right now. And like after that, I never looked back. I just put back in all the effort into it. Then I've done my coaching badge with that lot. I started training the youngsters there. Yeah. And I haven't looked back.
And that was early 2000s, wasn't it? So 2004.
2004, 2005 it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is one thing I wanted to touch upon, because going into a gym at 14, having those years in gyms and coaching with people and having those role models is one thing. Then deciding, actually, I could probably make a living from this. This is something I'm passionate about. I want to do it. I want to, I get something from coaching people, but I also can make a career out of it. Yeah. So when does it become a point of you saying, I want to start making some money doing this?
Yeah, well, what happened was I moved to Southend. And
how old were you then, Vic?
I was sort of like late 20s, nearly, I was in my 30s, I'd say. Early 30s, I'd say. And then I moved down here, and then I started working in a couple of gyms as training. And then I met a guy called Darren, and then I used to train with that group of people, and I used to do pound around for pad work.
Okay.
And I think it was 50 pence. We do 50 pence a round when I first started.
Okay.
I was working then. I was still working. I was working in London, but I used to come down after work, and then I'd train. Yeah. And I'd do like maybe 50 pence a round, I think it was. Then it went up to £1 and so on.
Yeah.
But that's when people remember me from. It was back in the day when I used to do rounds with people.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's when I started doing it.
So what were you doing in London, though?
I was only working. I was only I was a hog carrier. I was in the building sites working.
Yeah.
And I had a forklift license, and I used to do that. And then I moved down this one. I started working locally, and then I started training again. And that's when I started meeting people like yourselves along the way.
Yeah, because I guess my question was, it's one thing to go through that system and then be passionate about boxing, but it's another thing, especially back then, to make a living from it, because the fitness industry has evolved a hell of a lot over 3-4 decades. And
I've got a really great partner, my wife. She's really helped me sort stuff out. So she helped me with all my paperwork side and stuff like that, and looked after me. She's a great lady. She's done so much for me over the years.
So you've been married nearly 20 years now,
20 years.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
So it's really down to her. She helped me sort the style of stuff I needed to sort out. And I love her for it. And, she's a good woman.
Yeah.
And we brought up 4 kids together. So, it's really hard.
Yeah. I bet. And that's the other thing I wanted to touch upon. So you kind of make this... I guess the good thing about working on construction sites, and I've done it, my stepdad has spent his entire life as a scaffolder and is now still working at, oh God, I'm going to misage him, 64, 65, still doing it. And I think if he gave up, he'd keel over. It's just, he just got that work ethic from the age of 14, done it all the way through. I think that helps with
my boxing as well, because when you was young, you couldn't mess around. If you didn't do your job on the building site, you'd out. I
remember labouring.
And they never talked to you nicely, John.
No.
I
learned all the good words when I was on a building site, all the fun words and all the ways to be spoken to. Yeah. And that was an interesting time, but it did teach me a good work ethic. I've got to be honest. So I can imagine if you've been doing that for a chunk of time, that's great. But making that transition from, let's call it a stable job, you're going to turn up however many days a week and get a paycheck at the end of it. Yeah. To going freelance as a coach or self-employed as a coach is a big step. It takes.
But it was the same with my work as well. When I was labouring and worked for myself, so you sort of like you're still in the same boat, because you can be on one job for a week and they say, we don't need you anymore.
Right. So it wasn't like PAYE. You're not getting a salary all the time.
No. You never got a salary. You say you was always working for yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you get used to it. So like when people started crying over they're losing their jobs, I'm like, well, go and get another one.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what I had to do. I had no choice. You know what I mean? I'd go from South London to North London with my tools. And then do a day's work, then go to the gym. Do you know what I mean?
But that I think is the good thing about plying a trade or getting involved in such a hands-on physical job. Those skills are always going to be needed, aren't they too? And I think some people almost do themselves out of that by going so niche in what they want to do, or maybe not being comfortable getting on the tools or getting outside. And
I just feel like if you need to earn money, you've got to do what's necessary to go and get it. You know. I mean, I'd like to feel that I've done my bit. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I never wanted to be on the dole.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Do you know what I mean? As soon as especially when we had to deal with all this lockdown stuff, everyone was struggling in my things. And other people were doing all right. But for me, I just felt like it's going back in them days, you know what I mean? Which is a difficult time.
I want to talk about lockdown in a bit as well, because obviously that in the industry you're operating in was...
It was tough. I had to go in the park, and then you've got people looking at you like you're crazy.
Yeah. Well, I think I talked the other day about when I used to do boot camps. Yeah. And just exercising outside, people look at you like, what are you... Like, you get a bigger audience than you would a bloody team of people doing the boot camp itself, because they weren't used to it. But lockdown was, an incredibly interesting time for so many, but the fitness industry was hit incredibly hard.
It was hard. It was definitely hard. It was hard. And you just find out how people really are. And I just found it difficult with people, because I just try and be straightforward as I can. But even when it comes down to your neighbours, I was doing a bit in my garden and people were phoning the police on me and stuff like that.
Really?
It was awful. Do you know what I mean?
I think in hindsight, so many people that were very... And it's a generalisation, I don't want to offend anyone, but so many people during that time, I think if they look back at some of the thoughts and feelings or actions they did, if you really had a bit of introspection, you'd be like, I wouldn't do that again, or I wouldn't make the same decision.
People should be genuine and not follow like sheep. You've got to look at something and look at it twice, you know what I mean, before you even go and get involved in saying what you're going to say, do you know what I mean? And understand things. You know what I mean?
I do. Exactly. I would like to think that I'm someone that thinks critically about stuff and ask some questions.
You try your best. You know what I mean? I don't get it right all the time, but I try and do my best. You know what I mean? On the information I've got. Yeah. You know.
Talk to me about that transition then from you're doing your construction work. Yeah. And then you're doing full-time coaching. Yeah. When did that change happen, and what did that feel like at the time to make that decision? You're walking away from one thing and fully investing in another.
What it was, I had people coming up to me and say, can I train with you a bit more, basically, from when I was doing my pad work sessions. And then I had a couple of people that had been with me for about nearly 20 years as well, and they were doing well, and they said to me, look, I've got properties, do you want to come and do a gym? At the time I didn't have the confidence.
Right, okay.
And I had to do a gym for myself. And they said, you should be doing this yourself, do you know what I mean? And I just didn't have the confidence at the time. But if I look back on it, I wish I did have a go at it. But it's one of them things, a learning curve. But I'm happy. I've got some good people around me. They let me get on with what I do. They set me up a ring, and it's been great. I've been at Rom Gym for nearly 5 years. Yeah, and they're a good crowd. You know?
That's what I love about the community there. I've obviously had Ed on and spoken to so many people on the podcast that have been to Rom or know of it. And the biggest thing for me, I've trained there for about 3 years now, but the biggest thing is the community. And I've got to say, Vic, like, when I told people in the gym that you were coming on, every single one of them, just a big smile on their face straight away. Like, you are so loved down there. And I've got to say, like, you are one of the things that keeps that community alive, because I'm just going to speak at you now and you can take it. And if I make you blush, then you can. But
I'm getting hot, John.
Yeah. But when I first came in, you made the effort to you make eye contact with everyone and say hello, and then within a session you know everyone's name. And in a gym that can sometimes maybe feel a little bit scary for people, like you can walk into a gym environment and maybe feel insecure or self-conscious, and just someone making an effort to know your name and say hello to you just completely takes the edge off. And I've seen you do that to me, my partner Sophie, who's like a tiny petite thing that doesn't train in gyms a lot, people much older, people much younger, and you've got the same approach to everyone. Yeah, and you make
a decent human being, so everyone's a human being. Yeah. The first thing you do is get to know someone's name. Yeah. Yeah, and then you go from there. You have a little conversation, and that's it.
But that's you. It's not a broad brush thing for everyone, and I think it's a bit of a lost art. I don't disagree.
Because I talk to some of the youngsters I talk to, and they find it difficult to have a conversation with you. Unless you approach them and say something to them, they can't actually communicate with you. And it's not a good thing.
No.
They're good on their phones and stuff like that, but they can't actually speak to people face to face. And you've got to be able to speak to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, whatever they're doing, you better speak to anyone. I can get on a bus and talk to someone or a train. You know what I mean? It shouldn't make any difference.
But they're the sort of soft skills that you developed over years in the gym, on building sites. Those interpersonal skills are so important. But yeah, without making us both sound really old, Vic, I do think the generation beneath me are now struggling with some of that because of the engagement. Most of it's digitally, like we're all on our phones or laptops. And I would say that a 20-year-old is going to be much more technologically savvy than me. Yeah. But would they be able to do this? Would they be able to hold a conversation?
Conversation. But a conversation can change your whole life. You just got to know what you've got to talk to everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, my 2 youngest ones, I make sure they can talk to everybody.
Yeah.
This is John. This is whoever.
Yeah.
Say hello.
Yeah.
Take it from there. Do you know what I mean? Don't be shy.
But as a parent, that's all I'm wanting for my kids. I don't care what they go on to do academically. I just want them to be as happy as I can make them, or give them the tools to go off and be happy themselves. I guess is the better way to describe it. But I never want them to sit in silence. If they want to say something, I want them to have confidence to say. Yeah. I'm not happy with that.
I've got that going on, John. Sometimes it's difficult, but
really?
I get what you're saying. It's like when you have a kid, when you have a kid, you're trying to teach them a skill or the right way to do something. Yeah. But sometimes they see things differently. But you try and draw it back and just go with it.
Well, especially as they get older, they've got their own mindsets. They've got their own way they kind of interpret things. Yeah. But I think as a parent, all we want is for our kids to be happy. Even that's been kind of looked upon as a bad thing sometimes. We can't guarantee happiness.
No, but my dad used to say to me, if you're going to make yourself happy, that's the right way to be. You got to make yourself happy. Someone else can't do it because you could be miserable. What's that? You wasted 10 years being miserable. I'm not having that. Yeah. I want to enjoy my life, do different things. I do all sorts of things. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I'm 18. But
you bloody look it, Vic. That's a terrifying thing. But I think that's a great outlook. But again, we're living in a world where not everyone shares that. For some people, it's a mindset that's modified by what's going on around them, and they've taken a lot of that in. I've suffered with mental health and depression over the years, and in good spells I can get completely on board with what you're saying, and in bad spells I mean, I wouldn't be here in the first place. I'd be in bed with the duvet over my head and wanting the world to swallow me up. But I think your mindset is quite in the best possible way infectious. Yeah. And I wanted to use this. Well, I wanted to use it as an opportunity.
It's nice to know that people are interested, because, like, in my head, I always feel that, am I doing enough? I don't really, you know what I mean?
I mean, there's a question of what are you out there to do? Yeah, and I feel like you've had a pretty good north star with that. You know the direction you've wanted to head in. Yeah.
All I do is just live. I'm just trying to live my life like most of us. We're all trying to get on with stuff and be the best we can be. Yeah. And that's how I look at it. You just try and be the best you can be and enjoy life as much as you can. Yeah. You know what I mean? There's no point waiting. I think, I'll do that in another year's time. I'll think about that. If I can do it now, I'll just get on with it. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah. So you made that transition from into full-time coaching, and then I guess no looking back after that. You've been going. Do you get nervous sometimes? Let lockdown aside, when everyone was in a weird position, but do the nerves take hold sometimes? Like, oh shit, have I got enough money coming in? Have I got enough clients there? Is the work there? Yeah, have you had those moments of doubt?
Yeah. I mean, for me, you work because you work for yourself. You guys got something. You guys got to think what's around the corner, and you guys try and do your best. And I've never lived any way different, so I just think that you just get on with it. Yeah,
it's a good mindset to have, mate. I think. Yeah, no, of course, yeah. I just think as a self-employed coach, I used to be a PT for 7 years, and I know what it was like. I was living at home, and I was fortunate enough that I wasn't paying rent, and I was mollycoddled basically. So if I didn't make money for a week, I was all right. But I still used to shit myself that, if
you can't do nothing about money though, John, can you?
No,
so you have to go out and go and get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Simple.
Yeah. No, that's really, I mean, it's a good lesson to take away, especially for people that maybe, like I said, a younger generation that might be sat there wondering what's the shortest route to get money. Sometimes you got to take the long way round.
You got whatever suits you and what you're capable of. You just make the most of it. If you're really good at something, just do it. You know, there's no point sitting in laurels because, like, what are you wasting your time for? It's a shame, isn't it, if you're wasting it?
Yeah. So the advice that you give, you've got 4 kids. Yeah. The advice you give, I don't know what the age ranges are. Like what we talking.
I've got one at 25 coming up.
Right.
One at 23. Then I've got a 12-year-old and I've got 11-year-old.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So 2 boys and 2 girls.
And that's quite a range, isn't it?
Yeah.
But so let's say the ones in their 20s, what advice were you giving them earlier on when they were starting to think maybe about how they were going to shape work or their careers coming out of school?
Just to say to them, just do your best. Are you happy? You know, what are you doing? And find out what they're doing and stuff like that. If I can help them, I'll help them. Do you know what I mean? Whatever they needed, just being a dad or, you know, you just go out and help them. Whatever they need, you go and get it for them. And, you know, if they needed something, you sort it out for them. If they needed to go away on a trip or whatever they needed to do, you should do your best for them. Yeah. Just try and give them confidence. And that's the hard bit. You give them confidence and then so they understand who you are to make them understand who they are. Yeah. Do you mean? And that's how it works.
When you say that, do you talk about your experience growing up?
Yeah, it's totally different for them. It was totally different for their experience, but for them. And it's the same for when you look at how things were for my mum and dad, do you know what I mean? The experiences they went through was slightly different from me. So, and they dealt with different things because they come from a different background. Yeah. When you come to the UK or Britain, it's a different world altogether, isn't it? From what they've known.
Well, it's the cultural difference, language. So
you're learning. I mean, Ghana was one of the colonies under Britain, so there's things in place already. Do you know what I mean? And then it's just like a step over, and you just carry on with your lives.
Do you, if you don't mind me asking, Vic, have you ever been to Ghana?
I went there as a youngster. Yeah. I haven't been there a lot, but I went there as a young man. Yeah. Yeah. I don't really remember loads of it, the bits and pieces, and it was nice. It was warm.
I bet. Yeah.
it was great like that. But I've got like people around me who've all come from different parts of the world. I mean, I train everybody from all around the world. Do you know what I mean? So to me, I just look at you as a human being. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't really care what country you come from. Yeah. You want to train, we're going to go to work. Yeah. And that's it. Yeah. You know?
And that's where I guess boxing or... it's a universal language, isn't it? Totally. You don't have to speak English to be doing it. You don't have to come from a particular place. It's a universal language that you can learn.
You can work with everybody, and that's what the beauty of it. Or any sport, or it's how you are with people. Really, the person.
Take me back just quickly to that gap that you had. Why did you have an 8-year gap? Away from it?
I just think I think you fall out of love with something because I started quite young, and then when you get older, you sort of like there's things missing, especially when you've been doing it consistently for a long time, and that's where people go wrong. Because I say to people, you have to have other hobbies. If you just done boxing, or whatever sport you do constantly, you don't have nothing else to go to. That's why I think it causes psychological damage to people. You have to have like 3 or 4 different things on the go in your head so that you're not sort of like filling a void. As soon as you stop your sport, you've got to have something else to go to. So when I'm training these youngsters or the older ones, I say to them, look, you've got to find something else to do so that when you finish this, you're comfortable, because it's a downward spiral for a lot of the people if they haven't got nothing else to do.
So it's a bit of risk mitigation, isn't it? Because you could get an injury one week and then never box, or box at least at the same level again. Yeah. So there's that to it, but there's also, I mean, let's talk about your other love, with like DJing. When did that start to take shape?
That started when I was like in my early 20s, basically. I've been collecting records and doing my music thing for over like 30 years, maybe 40, 35 years now. Wow. And it's, I've got quite a lot of records. I'm like proper old school compared to the youngsters now with their little, whatever you call it, the sticks.
Yeah. Got you. So it has to be vinyl, does it?
For me, it's got to be vinyl because I like to feel it. And I used to think that when I listen to a sound system, I'm listening to the frequencies. My missus goes mad at me because I'm talking about frequencies. No one cares and all that. I'm like, yeah, they do. I care. Anyone who knows about music, they care about frequencies. But you know, going back to my music and stuff. Yeah, I've been collecting music a long time, and it's one of them places where I can go and I'll just get lost in it.
Right.
You know, I like a lot of music. I don't collect all the different types of music, but the music I collect makes me happy. So, you know.
So that's a bit of I say escape, but a bit of mindfulness, bit of like take you to a different place.
Yeah,
kind of,
totally.
That's your off switch as well as something that. So when did collecting music then become DJing? How did that opportunity come about?
When I was young, we used to go to there was a place called the Railway in Tooting, and my friends started doing little club things there, and they went on to do like other stuff. They went on to do. I didn't get involved in garage because I liked deep house and techno and stuff like that back in them days. So, but they was all into the garage thing, but they started me off there doing some bits in there. So it was like a pub, basically.
Right, okay, yeah.
And I used to go there and you give me an hour, I'll go and play and do stuff. And then I couldn't mix at all then.
Right,
it's like clatter bang, and then like you got to go back to the drawing board and start learning how to mix properly.
Yeah.
And then you start watching all these other guys doing the scratch mixing and stuff like that, and you learn and you pick up little tips, and then you just got to spend hours, John. It's like boxing. You got to spend hours dealing with it and adjusting yourself, and then so you learn how to mix properly. Now you couldn't tell if I put two records together, you wouldn't know if I mixed it or it's been sank in with a bit on the computer.
Right, okay.
I can mix smoothly.
Yeah,
you know. So it's just one of them things.
But again, that's committing to it.
Yeah, you've got to understand
your trade.
Music, you know where you can mix on the record. When the vocals come in, you can't mix that bit. You got to mix on that bit.
Yeah.
You can mix out of it and all sorts of stuff. But it's years and years of learning your music.
So is there a part of you that wanted to keep that for you, or do you enjoy being like, because you DJ at the Sunrooms?
Yeah.
So that's one of the places that I know that you do that, which again I only found out about 6 months ago that you did that. But
well, I've got a friend who actually trains with us as well, and he said, do you want to do a little bit? And I said, yeah. And he collects records, he does both sides, and he's a good DJ, he makes records himself.
Right. So
he said, come aboard, and then we met up a few times, and it was like, here we go.
Yeah, nice.
So it's really nice.
And do you enjoy like getting that audience reaction too?
Yeah, I do.
Is that
I really like
it?
It's all part of it, definitely. Especially when people understand what you're doing, because you've got to get them to feed into what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And then that's the hard bit. Once they get it, then you think, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Move on.
Because it's not just the music they're reacting to; it's the artistry and the skill between.
the skill set to make the music work. You know what I mean? And you've got to play the right track to make them go, okay, I know this one. And then all of a sudden, next minute, they're moving their head. Okay, all right, let's try this one now. And all of a sudden, they're dancing there. And you got them dancing, think, oh, I've got it now. Where you go, locked in.
Can you, and this is purely out of my own curiosity, if you've got like a set list in your head and you know things are going wrong, or people aren't reacting in the way that you assume they would, you can change that on the day. You can
change
make
it,
you can make
it all comes into what you've got in your box, because I'm limited. But when you've got like a stick, as
I was going to say, you've got actual physical vinyl. People
so
got
I'm training all the time, John. I'm carrying them boxes.
Lugging the boxes. I like that though. That is in the most like respectful way. That is old school, isn't it? That is like that's the way to do
boxes. I've got my records ready. Right, press ups.
I bet there's sometimes the thought that you want to start shouting some boot camp stuff as well. But yeah, I think that ability to be able to think on your feet and react to a room. I think that's great that you kind of honed that talent as well. It's brilliant.
And it all comes down to what time you're playing this set and things like that. It's all technical stuff, but it's all fun. You know, you got to enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. Talk to me a little bit about lockdown, Vic, because working in the fitness industry during that time, that was one of, I'd say, the most hard hit, or at least one right up there with one of the most hard hit industries.
It was.
Because you mentioned on your pre-interview questionnaire that online coaching became a thing for you around that time.
Yeah, I was doing a bit of Zoom. Yeah.
How was that? Because again, going virtual when you've been used to being physically in a space for your entire life, and you've been doing it for the decades that you've been doing it, and then going into Zoom.
Yeah.
Why were you driven to do that beyond making money? Because you mentioned mental health and that being a focus.
Well, because it was a case of where people couldn't go out and about. People used to text me and say, "Can you do a session with me on Zoom?"
Right.
So what I used to say to them, we all locked in at the same time, and we used to do a class together. I'd be training with them.
Yeah.
I
as you do, for anyone that doesn't know Vic.
I can't not do it. I have to do the same because I don't ever want someone to say, well, you can't do that, but I can do this. I could never deal with that.
Really?
I can't. I'm just not that person. I've got to do it. It's just like when I train at the gym and I see like Andy, for instance, he's lifting all these big, massive weights. I'm like, wow, I'm going to have to go at that. And I'm like, I've got to train for that. But then we have a little banter together and it's like,
I think just quickly, Andy will appreciate this. I did experience one of those moments where Andy was doing a deadlift and I think you'd come over with no warm-up whatsoever and trying to pick the bar up and I said, Vic, that's never going to end well. But it's nice. I think you do. There's an element of you got to practice what you preach, haven't you, and get involved with it. But how did you find the Zoom sessions? Was that a bit of an eye-opener for you, getting online? It was
because I've never done it before, you know. So for me, it's like, are you doing the right thing? So I always just ask them afterwards, did you get a good workout from it? Because I just think that when you're training someone, you have to be with them, John, to do it properly. You know, you can do something on the screen and show them what to do, but unless you're actually there with them, are they balanced right? Are they put their foot right the way? Is it too far forward, too far back? You can't do that with them when they're not there. So they need to be with you to train properly. Do you know what I mean?
And in a world now that is increasingly becoming like more virtual and connection is happening more and more online, do you see yourself ever leaning back into that to offer something online coaching or something like that?
I could never do it, but I wouldn't want to do it. I'd prefer to be with me. I'm more like, if someone rings me up and they want to do a boxing session with me, I'd rather meet them first, we have a conversation, and then they can gauge whether they're going to be able to work with me or not. And if you can work with me, then we can do something. But I like to meet people. It's so much better because if you don't know what you're working with, how are you going to make it work?
I think there's a new wave. I say new wave, it's been going on for years now, but a new wave of coaches, let's say, not just boxing coaches, but the fitness profession generally are trying to multiply their opportunities to make money by doing online sessions or pay-as-you-go self-service courses, stuff like that. And I think
someone could sit in a room and say, I've got an online session booked in. They do the session, they're just sitting in the corner like this, John, just sitting there. 20 minutes, I've done my session now. I'll eat my packet of crisps now and go off. Do you know what I mean?
So it's a question of accountability as well, isn't it? If you're seeing someone in the flesh. It's all
accountability. Everything you do is accountability. Do you know what I mean?
It's interesting because I'm mindful as well that, I mean, part of the reason I got out of personal training, I was only in my mid-20s, but I'd had enough. I wasn't able to kind of live that lifestyle, I think. I wasn't able to practice what I preached half the time because I was going out and getting pissed, turning up to sessions hungover.
I get what you're saying. But you're a young man, innit? So you're going to go through that stage.
Well, 19 to 25, I kind of had that almost rite of passage. And I'm not saying I was turning up to every session I was doing drunk.
No, I know.
But definitely wasn't committed to that lifestyle. Whereas now I see it, if I got back into it, it's one part of it is making money from it. It's a tough industry. It's competitive. But I think actually what stands you apart is the fact that it's in the same room. It's a visceral experience. You know, boxing is, you're not only getting the fitness benefits, the mental health, but it's also it's therapy. Hitting a pad.
That's whatever you're doing. Everyone goes in with good endorphins when they finish because they feel calm. I mean, when I do my bag work, if I haven't got a pad man, because I haven't got a pad man to work me, but if I had a pad man, I'd love it. But I've got a bag, so I use a bag at the gym if I want to use a bag. And then after I feel that I've done that, I go home and relax. I just feel like I'm floating on the bed, you know what I mean? I feel calm, I feel everything's nice. And sometimes you just got to get out of your system what's going on. So, you know, you can't beat things like boxing or anything what you can get into, do you know what I mean? And just release it.
I think that's what I've found, definitely doing it a little bit later in life now, like I'm approaching 40 and having that experience. You don't think about anything else other than sometimes I hate Vic, why is he making me do this? But, you know, in that 30 minutes, that's, again, it's so rare to only be focused on one thing nowadays because I can sit here usually, I've got a laptop, a phone, people calling me, a podcast on. Your brain is like multi-stream.
I've got time for that when you're training with me because as soon as you get in there and you're doing your work for half an hour, you forget about your phone, you forget about all that stuff going around you outside. And when you come in the gym, you work hard and you go back to it when you're finished. But when you're training, you've got to get on with your training and enjoy your training. That's your time. You know what I mean? When I'm training, it's my time. So when I'm doing my class on a Saturday, that's me. So if you're not training right on Saturday, you're going to know. And that's how it works, you know what I mean? And that's how I do it. And then they love it because I'm telling the truth. You know what I mean? You've got to get on with it. You know?
And again, that's a perfect example of practicing what you preach. I went to your Saturday morning class for the first time last weekend. And yeah, mate, to see the effort you are putting in, whilst at the same time orchestrating everyone else and making sure that you're holding people accountable for doing it. I think it's fantastic.
As long as you try your best, my form is as long as you try your best, that's enough.
Yeah.
But don't be hiding because you ain't at the back of the bus now. We're going to go, do you know what I mean? That's it.
Yeah. No, it's great. So you've seen, I mean, you must have seen over the years, like the positive impacts on people's mental health from doing boxing or exercise in general. And it must have been the same for you because, again, we're all human. We all have ups and downs.
For me, I felt like I had to train. I mean, I lost loads of weight when I was in lockdown because I was eating right, I was eating really clean. I come back to gym fitter than what I left. So I lost a lot. I probably lost about 5 kilos.
Right, okay.
I'm probably a bit back on now because I started doing more weight stuff. But yeah, I needed to do that side of it because I like to feel strong. I didn't need to. I mean, you can do a really great workout even touching a weight.
Yeah.
But, you know, you start getting ideas. I mean, I used to feed off everyone. I mean, I watch everybody in the gym. They all do different things, like yourself and all the others there. They all do different things. I think, I love that. I can nick that and I'll use that in a class next week.
Cherry pick.
It's lovely because everyone does different ways of training. Do you know what I mean? So it's so nice. And there's always something to learn. Yeah. I mean, in boxing, there's always something because it changes. It never stays the same. Yeah. You know, and that's the beauty of it all. And
would you argue that throughout the whole time you've been doing it, you're still as passionate about it now as you were back in the day? You're still picking things up and learning as you go?
I learn all the time. Yeah. I mean, I can sit down and have a conversation with you and we're talking and I'm learning something. Do you know what I mean? So it's nice.
And what do you get the most out of? Because again, you mentioned on your form, and I genuinely believe you get a lot out of training, you know, very good boxers that are at a certain level, and then people like me that have come into the ring and literally
enjoy it. My thing is that when you first come into the ring with me, 4 weeks later you've changed. Yeah. So what I've seen you 4 weeks ago when you first started, you're not the same person when you now 4 weeks in. So for me, it's working. Yeah. So I like that. You know what I mean? That's what I like watching.
And I guess those changes happen a lot quicker, don't they? Because you've got refining good fighters and you've got bringing someone like an average, as you term it, average Joe coming in. Getting on the pads for that first time. I guess the nice thing is that you tend to see a bit of a difference quite quickly. Yeah,
but I like it because people actually see they can get on with it. Yeah. And then when I see that getting on, then I can up the game a little bit, which is nice. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've noticed that from experience.
Well, that's what it's about, isn't it? You just keep adding and adding, and all of a sudden they're doing things what they didn't think they could do. Yeah. And then when you video what they've done when they first started, and when they do it now, they think, wow, I've had changed. Do you know what I mean? Which is lovely. Do you know what I mean?
And it's one thing for you to see that. It's another thing to see the recognition of someone else realising it too. Because that shows the contribution you've made.
Totally.
When it beds in on someone's mind and they can feel that as a positive thing.
Yeah, because people always say to me, I didn't think I could do that. And I'm saying, you can do it if you want to do it. Yeah. And that's it.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Look, I've benefited from it. I know so many other people have. And yeah, the classes you put on the community, as I say, that you're such an integral part of, has been an amazing thing, both physically for people and fitness, but it's such a mental thing, isn't it? It's mental health is so important, and having a kind of hub with someone like you in it, I just think is really important and special, because I don't think there's many places like that.
Yeah, man, you can only be the way the trainer is. I mean, if the trainer's that way, I mean, I can't change myself. That's how I am. So I'm going to try and get the best out of you and the best out of me. Yeah. And that's it. And just keep pushing.
That's it, yeah. And the other thing, I feel like Ed needs to start paying me some commission soon, because I do talk about Rom on this. That's a joke, Ed, by the way, but I do talk about Rom on this. But I've trained in a lot of gyms over the years. I used to work in them, then training them, and I just think the community there and the way and the acceptance there, like anyone can walk into that gym and feel welcome without feeling like they're being looked at, like who's this coming in?
The gym at Rom is it's a sports gym. It's like for people who are athletes who want to train. And if you're not an athlete, you will be an athlete. Yeah. And that's the mindset you should be. Do you mean? We go there to train. You're not going there for any other reason than train. And it's nice. You know what I mean?
No, it's good. It's a special place. I genuinely think it's a special place.
I mean, I was at another gym beforehand. I was there for Evolution before. That's how I met Ed again. But Ed met me when I was in my 40s, just before my 40s. He said he met me. I was running on a treadmill next to him, and I'm like, I don't even remember.
And Ed's quite striking to look at as well. You'd expect to remember Ed.
We had a brief conversation when he was young. He was just like young then.
Yeah.
And it's mental that, people still remember me now. And I'm like, I meet people now and they talk to me about stuff 20 years ago. And I'm like, what?
Well, funny enough, I had an experience. My barber, I was chatting to him the other day, and he's always interested. So Chris, I'll give Chris a shout out, who works at Mengo. But Chris Musket, I'm going to mention that name only because I said I've got Vic from Rom coming on. He said, yeah, I should do pad work with Vic.
Oh, okay.
And he just had, even he, who... you probably don't remember the name, but he's got these lovely things and lovely experience, and just say, every time I saw him, just an amazing guy to be around, and that's lovely that you've left that kind of legacy of whether you remember him or not.
No,
you've
that's
left
right.
that impression.
I'll probably with Chris. I'll probably if I see his face, I know that guy.
Or if he hit a pad.
But they're all like older now, so they look different from when they were with me. Because they're all like, I was at a party and a load of kids they're adults now. They was talking to me and they said, you showed me when I was like, 12, and I'm like, what?
Yeah.
He goes, and they're like, they're 24, 25 now, and I'm like, right, okay.
How do you feel about getting older, Vic? What's your relationship with it?
I'm all right with it. I'm happy because I'm happy with myself.
Yeah.
I could do with a bit more money, but other than that, I'm all right.
We all could, mate. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I only ask because, some people's relationship with it, they get to a point where maybe they're approaching 60 and start thinking, okay, well, they're not as focused, or they're not as optimistic, or their mindset, their outlook is different to yours. But I think
I've got two young ones, John. I'm not going to slow down yet. I'm going to make sure they're all right. Do my best for them and myself. But they keep me young, which is I need it. Yeah, I need an aim. Do you know what I mean? We all need aims, wherever it is. You need something to work for or do.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. I've got a few more questions, Vic, and then we're done. But I just want to touch upon this because my producer Tom, who edits the podcast, had brought this question up, and he so it's basically Tom's question that I'm stealing for the podcast. But he wanted me to ask your thoughts on the kind of rise of celebrity boxing, because I notice from the conversations I have, I don't see you get dragged into these conversations too often. But just what do you think of it? Do you think it's... I guess one argument could be that it's getting eyes on the sport. Another argument could be it's diluting the kind of impact and the respect for the sport. But what are your views?
My views are, if you're a professional fighter, you're there to make money. If you're an amateur boxer, you're there to, if you're good enough, you'll turn pro. But celebrity boxing's all right, is if you keep it as a happy party thing and then keep the real boxing to boxers, because the boxers work so hard, professionals and amateurs, it shouldn't be diluted so much in my eyes, because when you see these guys, how much effort and time they put into the game, and I feel like they don't get the recognition they should.
So it's almost disrespecting the people that are really committed to it.
A little bit, I think it is. But if someone wants to have a fight and it's a trivial thing, it's all happy and a joke, it's fine. But keep the real boxing for the boxers, because it's a lot of time and effort put into it, and I don't feel like it should be diluted.
Yeah, because let's use Jake Paul and Tyson. Yeah, as an example, they walked away with what? Is it 20 million
much
each
money,
from
but
that?
They're both there. I mean, Tyson's a professional fighter, so for me, it's a good thing that he walked away with his money. Jake Paul is one of the what do you call him on the
YouTuber, whatever, influencer.
Yeah. So he's an influencer, but he's not a proper boxer, because what he was doing, if in my eyes, I feel that if Tyson wanted to knock that boy out, he would have knocked him out.
Really?
Because if you watch him do that pad work, even in the preview to it, someone would be on the floor crumbled up. He didn't even do none of that. So, I'm not saying it was fixed, but I don't think it was a good example of Tyson.
Yeah, okay.
That's it. That's it.
Because I was going to say, Tyson, I would imagine, when you're watching boxing and the fighters that meant something to you growing up would have been up there. And
like Marvin Hagler. You wouldn't see him taking in nonsense like that. He's a great fighter. They could call him the four kings. Duran, Tyson, Duran, Marvin Hagler, then you had Sugar Ray Leonard, and Tommy Hearns.
Right.
They were the main ones at that time when I was growing up. But there's a couple of others. There was a Welsh guy I used to like, Jones, his name was, Colin Jones. And he was a good fighter. For me, I mean, other people might not like him, but I used to look at fighters and what they did. There was another local fighter, Mark Kaler, a great fighter. People didn't like him, but I liked him because of what he'd done. And it depends on what the fighter does, do you know what I mean? Tony Sims is another fighter.
Yeah.
You know.
How would you describe your boxing style?
My style's box fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that. What is that?
It's more like you box, find your moment, then you go in. You find your moment, you move in and out, find your move, control the middle of the ring, find your moment. I mean, I could box my back foot, but I'd rather control the middle because it's so much easier. It's less like you're not going to get trapped.
Right, okay.
And I think it's the best, you know, if you can stay in the middle, control it, you don't get trapped.
Yeah.
You just got to use your feet a bit more. A lot of people don't understand that boxing is more about footwork than actually throwing punches. Everyone thinks it's because I throw a big bomb and that's it. But it doesn't work like that. You have to have your feet in the right place to be able to get your shots off.
And in the short time that I've been working with you, Vic, I'm fully understanding that now. Yeah, like
we're getting there.
Yeah, you have these moments where it's nice to hear like a big bang on a pad or strike it well.
But how are you going to get it there? So you've got to use your feet.
It's very
so
embarrassing when you're reaching and not hitting the pad because
totally.
you've taken a step back. But yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, it's always interesting, and like I think Tom's view on it was that we can all watch something like that Jake Paul Tyson fight as a spectacle, but does it really classify as boxing? Is it purely just entertainment? Does it dilute it?
It's an entertainment thing. You know. It's more of an for me. It's entertainment, and they got paid.
Yeah.
You know, I want to watch. If I want to watch boxing, I like watching amateurs. When I watch amateurs, they go at it, they do their work. And someone gets a decision, and hopefully the right person gets the decision, and that's it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Right, mate, I want to ask two more questions, and then we've got the closing traditions on the podcast, and then you're finished, okay? What's been the most rewarding part of coaching for you?
When someone boxes and they get the win.
Yeah?
I love it.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is when I get someone fit and they don't realise they're fit.
Right, okay,
that's another thing I like. Because they always come back and tell me I've got unfit now. I didn't realise how fit I was. And I'm like, yeah, well, you just got to keep ticking over. And that's the key to it. You just have to keep going.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to be at that high level, but whatever you come from, you just keep yourself ticking over so you can go back and spike it back up again. And that's what people got to understand. So you take it down and you go back up. Because you can never be at the top all the time. You got to understand. You got to wind yourself back down, bring it back up.
Yeah. Oh, nice. So getting the win is you're still getting something from that. I mean, you've got to chase it, haven't you? You've got to want that for the people that you train.
Because you never go out to lose.
Yeah.
You go out to win and do the best you can. You know, I never say to them, do your best. I say go and win, and that's what I say.
I'm going to ask then, how do you help people deal, because you're not going to win all the time, how do you help people deal with a disappointment when they don't?
Well, I just tell them the truth. We've got to go back and adjust things.
That's constructive.
So we need to go back and adjust things and see what we're looking at, what we didn't get right. You know what I mean? Because there's guys out there you can fight and you could never beat them.
Right.
It's happened to me. I remember when I was young, a schoolboy, and I boxed a guy called Baker, and I boxed him. And every time I met him, I always found out whatever I did, I couldn't get round him.
Right.
And it used to really annoy me.
Right.
But, you know, it's just one of them bogeymen you get. One of them fighters, you know. And he wasn't bigger than me. He was just a short, stocky little fella. But he just said my number.
Right.
And that was it.
That's interesting. As a coach, though, if you've got a student that you're seeing, and there is that sort of bogeyman that they're coming up against all the time. Yeah. I guess sometimes it's easier to kind of be a bit more impartial and maybe try and come up with a game plan for them to get around it. But
you do try and get a game plan. But like Tyson said, as soon as you get hit, you don't know what you're going to do. But if you can stick to your game plan, it works.
Yeah.
But then you got some fighters I've got fighters who can adjust on the time. So that's what a good cornerman does. You get in the corner and he says, right, he's got a minute to say what he needs to say. So you've got a minute to say to your fighter, right, you've got to change this now. You can't do that. Do this instead. throw this combination, whatever you got to say. Don't fall in. Don't do this, do that. And then you got 1 minute to correct what they're doing to make them a better fighter.
Yeah.
And that's it. And you do your best. You know what I mean? So
it's kind of a nice crossover there and a nice message to take, whether it's boxing or not. But like, it's being able to adapt.
Yeah,
it's having people in your corner that are willing to give you advice that helps you adapt as well. Maybe read a situation a little bit differently.
You've got 30 seconds, John. When you go out in a fight, you've got 30 seconds to work out what you got to do.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Because, the last fight they done that, but this fight they're going to do this. And they, and if they know you, they're going to work to what they can do against you. And things like that.
And I ask this question of most people that come in for the podcast too, and I want to take you back to that moment where you gave up the construction stuff and you committed 100%. And it sounds, obviously, your wife has played an integral part in supporting you to do this. But if you were giving advice to yourself back then, and let's say you were saying to yourself, "No, do you know, this is solid work. I know what I'm doing. It's too risky to go and start coaching full time." What advice would you have given yourself then?
Go for it quicker. Go for bigger.
Really?
Yeah, just go for it.
Yeah.
Because you haven't got nothing to lose. But that time, I didn't realise that.
Yeah.
You ain't got nothing to lose. You can go back to that if you need to.
Yeah.
Yeah. So always go for it.
Do you know what? That is, I think, for the most part, when I ask that question, that's the advice that everyone gives. Jump in both feet. Don't look back. Got to try it. Much better to do it and then regret trying it than not. Yeah. And it just feels like it's sometimes the hardest advice to take, but it is the advice.
It is the right way to go. Just go for it. You got nothing to lose.
Nice. Okay, cool. Right, we've got a game, and then we've got the closing tradition. Now, you've not listened to any of these podcasts, which I don't take personally, Vic, but
Sorry,
it means you're not prepared for these. So this is fun. This is going to be like, I'm holding the pads now.
Okay.
And I'm going to watch you struggle.
I'm sweating.
So the game's nice and simple. So it's this or that. You've got 10 questions, 2 choices. You've got to pick one of the choices, no context, so you can't tell me why, and you've got to try and pick it quickly.
All right, I'll give it a go anyway.
It'll be easy. Don't worry. Okay, this or that. Power punches or speed and agility?
Speed and agility.
Okay. Ali versus Frazier or Tyson versus Holyfield?
Ali versus Fraser.
Okay. Jake Paul or KSI?
Can I say none of them?
None of them, yeah, you can. I'll let you off. Considering I've got a box with you on Monday, I'll let you off. Training a beginner or refining a seasoned fighter?
Training a beginner.
Okay. Old school hip hop or house music?
I like both.
Got to pick one. I've got to get you off the fence for that one.
Oh, mate. I like both. I started off with hip hop.
Okay.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, so I like house music now, but I was a hip hop.
Come on, Vic. You got to give me one or the other.
I've got to say house then, because that's where I'm at the moment.
That's off the fence. I think this one's going to be easy. Vinyl or digital?
Vinyl all day long.
I know that now. Sugar Ray Leonard or Floyd Mayweather?
Why can't you say Marvin Hagler?
Okay. All right. Sugar Ray Leonard or Marvin Hagler?
Marvin Hagler.
Okay. Cool.
Thank you.
It's easier. A small intimate venue or a big outdoor festival? This is more DJing.
Small intimate venue, please. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Focus on endurance or strength training?
Endurance.
Okay. And the last one, Rocky or Creed?
John.
Is it because you like both of them?
No, but it is. When people come to the gym, they talk about Rocky. I always tell everyone, Rocky's not real.
But have you seen the Creed films?
Yeah.
So what one's a fairer representation? I know neither of them are real, but you've got to get off the fence again. If you've seen both of them, you can give me no context. You've got to give me an answer.
I go Creed.
Do you know what? Thank you for giving that a lot of thought. Right, that's the game done. Now, the closing tradition, I love it when people don't know this is coming. So the closing tradition is a question that gets sent in each episode by my mum.
Okay.
So my mum leaves a voice note. I'll play it down the microphone. And then, we just don't know what's coming down the mic. So we'll have to see what happens. Right. Okay, let me get the volume.
Hi, Vic. Imagine a boxing match between Elon Musk and Mark Zuckerberg. Who do you think would win? Thank you.
Elon.
Yeah. It's simple as that. Go on, why is it? Because this has been a big conversation. It's not so much boxing, but it's been rumoured. And why?
He's a bit sharper.
You reckon?
Yeah.
Wait, I don't know what you're basing it on. I don't disagree, but...
basing on For what I see, because I'm not really up with this, but like what I see of the two of them, he's more out there.
Zuckerberg, have you seen him recently?
I haven't seen him for ages.
He's in shape. He's been doing a load of jiu-jitsu or something.
Okay.
But I think I'd be on the other side of that fence, mate. I mean, you're the pro, so...
I'm not a pro. I'm a trainer.
You know more. You know more than I do.
Yeah.
All right, Mum. Thanks for that. I was wondering where she was going to go with that. That's quite a good one. I think
it's a hard one. It's a very hard one.
She's leaning on these rumours that, and obviously this spat that they had on X about trying to set up this UFC fight or something.
Okay.
Nice. Mate, thank you so much, Vic. You're all done. So there was nothing to be nervous about, was there?
John, thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. No, it's an absolute pleasure. And like I said to you earlier, I just want you to leave here knowing that, the part you play in that gym and that community, mate, everyone appreciates it. I've appreciated it. Okay. Everyone I speak to has. So thank you, and long may it continue, mate.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Welcome. Thanks for listening to Jobsworth. If you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to give us a follow wherever you listen to your podcasts. And while you're there, if you could take 2 seconds to rate the show, that would be awesome. You can follow Jobsworth on Instagram, where you'll get teasers for upcoming episodes, some behind-the-scenes videos, and the occasional bit of career inspiration. And if you'd like to learn more about my day job, then feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn.